Next amendment.
Next set of amendments sent by Senator Peterson. It is set number 2885. 2885.
Senator Peterson.
Harry, you need a copy?
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, what the amendment will do is provide for $5 million that would be allocated to something called automatic prenatal care services for women, regardless of their income. And if you're not familiar with what prenatal services are services that when you get checkups from doctors or a nurse during your pregnancy, and it helps to keep you and your baby healthy. Certainly, we now have, and the impetus for this amendment was actually this morning. I have a couple of amendments coming. The impetus was this morning for the reasons that the new bill and the new law that we have in place that requires women to have babies even against their own will. And so if a woman is required to have a child because that woman can't make a choice, and let me go ahead and define woman to you. I'm using that term broadly, but quite frankly, I probably shouldn't use woman in this instance. I should focus on and even harp on the fact that it could be a child. And so I'm going to give you a scenario that's not hypothetical. That a 12-year-old little girl is raped by, let's say, her father. The father is convicted, and the father, as a rapist, convicted, is now in jail. The 12-year-old child recognizes and finds out or determines from her doctor that she's pregnant when she's 15 weeks. The 12-year-old child is 15 weeks pregnant, but she and her family can no longer have an abortion. Because even though they'd like to, we have a new law in Louisiana that doesn't permit the child to abort the baby while the father has been convicted, is in jail. So the 12-year-old child that is 15 weeks pregnant now has to go through with the pregnancy, give birth, and raise the child.
Okay.
Who's going to raise the child? Well, I don't think that many people want to, let's say, abort the responsibility of parenthood. Most don't, after carrying a child for 9 months. So she's responsible for raising the child, but she's 12. She can't even work in a restaurant. She can't get a job anywhere. So who's going to support the child that Louisiana has just decided she's required to have? So if you're going to force a 12-year-old child who has been raped to have her child, raise it for her. Also, so that's another amendment coming because we got a few. Stay tuned. This one is going to help with prenatal because she doesn't have a job, so therefore she doesn't have insurance. Now, she may have Medicaid expansion, Medicaid because her parent, and she's a child and a dependent, she may be eligible for Medicaid. But I suspect that there's some prenatal health concerns that are not covered. So this is a mere $5 million coming from the Department of Health to cover prenatal services, regardless of income, for women. This is not going to cover the cost associated with what we've just done, nor it won't cover the cost of all the services that are needed. So I'd ask your favorable adoption of the amendment. It is a small amount of money to ask to take care of the health of the child and others that are required to have children against their own will, involuntarily. Now that we've told them they have to have the child, let's give them the health care that goes along with it. Because I today am well aware, based on Senator Carter's amendment that just passed and our own Ashley Mitchell Carter, of the maternal issues. Even when you have health care, there are risks. Even when you have it. Now, if you're gonna not vote for this, I would really love for you to come talk to me and tell me why this is a bad amendment. Don't just sit at your desk and vote no, particularly if you voted yes to make a 12-year-old have a baby after being raped with no father in jail. Come talk to me. Don't be a coward. Come talk to me. Come talk to me and tell me why. Come on up. I see question, Mr.
Senator Walsworth, you got a question?
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Chair, I'm with you.
Great.
I'm a big advocate of the nurse-family partnership.
Perfect.
What I'm scared of is because you've got at the very end, regardless of income, I may be spreading this thing out so much that I really can't do what I need to do with those who need the most help. And so try to help me with that. I'm with you on where you're at, but I think we're spreading this thing out so much, that the amount of money out so much compared to, and let's just say we may wind up only spending $400 or $500 per person on this, where with a nurse-family partnership you may wind up needing $5,000 per. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that, let's just say that I'll go with, let's just say a 17-year-old that needs that.
No, let's
nurse.
Let's stick with a 12-year-old that was raped and her father's in jail. Let's stick with that example.
Okay. She needs more services than the 25-year-old that comes from a family that has $1 million. Would you agree with me there?
No.
Okay, then we do. Okay, all right.
And don't try to come to this mic and be coy with me that you care about income when it comes to involuntary birth.
I do care about income because I don't want to spread this so much that we're not helping the people that we want to, that really do need that. And there are young women that need, let's just say, that nurse-family partnership, that need that guiding hand to help them through this. And all I'm just saying, with you putting down there, regardless of income, I'm now spreading that to the entire population, not just those that need the services the most. Did you know?
All right, any further discussion?
I don't have any more questions, Mr. President.
You don't have any more questions?
Why not?
You want to close?
I was hoping to have some more questions. Well, if we don't have any more questions, this must be a great amendment, because the majority of this body voted to do just what I said, to permit for involuntary births. And so we must want to cover, in the instance particularly where there are children, we must want to cover the health care of a child who doesn't work, who doesn't have a father. Or are we that callous that we would pass the law that is now signed into what we would pass it and vote easily green to pass the law, but yet not fund what is inevitable, not inconsequential consequences? Known hazard. Do you really care about the children that are subject to the new law that we passed? Do you really care? About to find out. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Senator Peterson has sent up an amendment to his objection. When the machines open, those in favor will vote yes, those opposed no. Open machines, please. Vote your machines, please. Vote your machines. Are you through voting? Senator Floor, no. You through voting? All right, close them up, please. 16 yeas, 20 nays, amendment fails. Secretary.
Yes, sir. I have amendment set number 2887 by Senator Peterson. 2887.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Similar to the amendment that was just brought, I thought it would be important, since we passed this law, again, which dictates to a woman what to do with her body, and that notwithstanding the fact that she can't make a choice, the state of Louisiana has now decided that even if she doesn't want to have the child, and she's opted with her doctor and her family out of having a child and parenting, that in that instance, but there's also the instance, as I just brought up, that a 12-year-old who is a child, then we would be requiring that child to become a parent and raise a child. And so in that instance, if the child is going to have a child, maybe we should put more money in to foster care, because it's woefully inadequate if people are going to be required, women, or not men, not most of you in here, but women are going to be required to have children. And if a 12-year-old is required to raise a child and not have the option of adoption or foster care, seems like this is pretty reasonable. Once again, please come to the mic, talk to me. Why shouldn't we put more money in foster care if we are dictating to a woman what she should do with her uterus and whether or not she should have a child? If you have voted to tell a woman what to do with her body, particularly voted without an exception, when a woman and a child is raped, that she has to have the child, you are also going to be saying, look, I'm not willing to support money for foster care, even though I've told you that you have to have this child, and even if there is a 12-year-old. I see a question, Mr. President, involved.
Senator Carter, you got a question?
Senator Peterson, first of all, I applaud you for attempting to find a solution. And I think you're on the right track. Isn't it true that if other options are taken away from the 12-year-old and she cannot provide for the child, and the child has to be put into foster care, and assuming that with this new law this law that's been signed, that is now Louisiana law, absent of having additional funds for foster care, what will happen?
Well, what will happen is the child will either end up abandoned, or maybe sometimes we find that there are people in the family. You know, we find this a lot, where people in the family take in a child. That's the ideal situation if there's somebody in the family with the means to take care of it. But for that situation, the child could end up abandoned, malnutrition, and we could see an increase in other forms of government spending in aid because we haven't adequately planned for the consequences associated with our action on these bills that have passed through with respect to abortion. And so it's neglecting the responsibility of it's like the follow-up and the consequences. We can leave here on June 6th and ignore that responsibility, even though we voted to dictate that and present this new law to women all across the state. I think it's irresponsible and disrespectful.
Surely you aren't suggesting that somehow some of the people that voted here care when it's in the euro, but not once it's born.
I mean, I'm just saying everybody's going to have a record vote, and then the people in the fall are going to be able to decide if people's actions and rhetoric meet their votes.
Sure seems to me, did you know, that if you cared about the child in the womb, you should care for them once they're born. Did you know? And if you have a 12-year-old child who has a child, somehow there has to be some resources to care for that child. And by adding additional funds to foster care, would that provide that? Doesn't that give an opportunity for foster care to have additional resources to find good homes for these children? And I think it's reasonable that this money that will be allocated, as I think your earlier amendment would have been appropriate, that we provide health care, since now we have children that are being born into poverty, born into homelessness in many cases, because everybody doesn't have a family member, did you know, that would help. Everybody doesn't have somewhere else to go, did you know? Everybody doesn't have other resources, did you know? I like your amendment, Senator, and I plan to support it.
Thank you, Senator Carter, and you're bringing up good points. I mean, this would be an established alternative to parenting, because, as I used before, the 12-year-old can't raise a child. The 12-year-old can't raise a child, and we're just ignoring that fact. Anybody who's voting against this is not supporting that. If you can't support health care for the child, you're not supporting once the child is born, to Senator Carter's point. I mean, how do you call yourself pro-life? You pro-life because you voted for a bill to dictate to a woman what to do with her uterus? But now that the child is born and the woman can't take care of the child, you're not going to take care of it with your dictate? You can't put the money to support the child that you caused to come into the world? We were big and bold enough to vote for it. Be big and bold to support it. Support the child. Everybody doesn't have the means to support children. We know that before this bill passed, there was a disparate need, a desperate need, and a disproportionate amount of money allocated for these things. Senator Walsworth mentioned it, and the Delta in particular. So now we've exacerbated the problem. Members, I ask that you support extra money for foster care, particularly considering what we've just done with these new laws. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Senator Floyd, you have any comment? All right, you object. Any further discussion? Senator Peterson has sent up an amendment to which there is objection. When the machines are open, those in favor will vote yes. Those opposed, no. Secretary, open the machines, please. Vote your machines, please. Vote your machines. Are you through voting? You through voting? All right, close them up, please. 12 yeas, 24 nays. The amendment is rejected. You have amendments, Madam Secretary?
Amendment sent up by Senator Peterson. They are set number 2889.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. So members, we've decided that in this budget it is not a priority to take care of the health care of the women that are forced to have children as a result of the new bill requiring the abortion ban. We've decided that we're not going to take care of their prenatal health care. We've also decided that we're not going to increase the money for foster care. So when the child is born, and a 12-year-old, for example, can't take care of the child, we're not going to increase foster care. So maybe before the child has sex, because I mean everybody has sex, right? More often than not. So before the child or the young person has sex, maybe they will teach them, we will give some money to the schools and not ignore our responsibility to educate them to minimize abortions and unwanted pregnancies. Maybe we'll give them some money to support sex education in the schools. So what this does is it provides $2 million that would go to the Department of Education and be disseminated to the local school districts so that young people can have responsible sex education, so we can minimize abortions and teach them about responsible intercourse. Since we've decided to control the uterus of a woman, I was thinking that this might be a good idea. So I hope you would join me. Please support the amendment.
All right. Senator Floyd, you got any comment on this? You object? All right. Senator Peterson has sent up an amendment to which there is objection. When the machines are open, those in favor will vote yes, those opposed, no. Secretary, open the machines, please. No. Senator Ward, no. Senator Long, no. Senator Dr. Thompson, no. Vote your machines, please. You through voting? All right, close them up, please. 8 yeas, 28 nays. The amendment fails to pass. Senator Peterson, do you want to speak on the bill before we adopt the bill?
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I rise in opposition to no longer HB 1, HB 105. I rise in opposition because we are passing a budget which I believe is a moral document. We've now voted against 3 amendments that are completely inconsistent and I think hypocritical to the women of this state. So I'm not voting for this bill. Maybe if it gets out of here, when it gets out of here, the House will reject what we send them and send it back, and I'll have a chance to vote for it. And maybe the administration can do a better job of matching the rhetoric and the dictate on women and their bodies with the priorities in this bill. Because we need to either educate women on the front end, provide health care, prenatal health care better and increase that funding on the front end, or at a minimum increase money for foster care, adoption, and taking care of them once they're born. We've done nothing. So the priorities that were established before the bill was signed are the same priorities that exist in this supposedly moral document, budget, as it was before the law and the bill was signed. The chairman of the committee has done a lot of hard work along with the committee, but this was not considered in any serious way. The implications and the consequences associated with forcing a woman to have a child against their will. Every time it was rejected, there was objection to an amendment. Every amendment, without real thought. I object. What are we doing? What are we doing? People want to talk about religious beliefs. I'm Catholic. And I respect women. I'm Catholic. I don't walk around here telling you what happens in my church. Because it's not the place. This is not church. It's nice to pray. It's nice to honor the people who have left us. But this is not church. This is not where I tell you because I'm Catholic. I don't tell a Muslim. I don't tell a Jew. I don't tell someone of a different religious belief what to do with their body. This is not the place for that. We want to waive it and put it in every law until it comes time to really be pro-life. Then we don't show up. Then we don't show up. Pretty sad day in Louisiana. I hope you vote against this bill.